shit open.
Well, welcome to Apples and Oranges, folks.
Yes. Welcome to Apples and Oranges. We're in person, as always, these days.
Yep, as it be.
What? As we be. And here we are in the flesh with our wonderful returning guest. You know him from comedy doing. You know him from folk singing, the Peaceniks.
You know him from conspiracy theories with his cat on the internet.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. What else do people know you from?
Not much else, probably not.
Okay.
The New Folk Revival is
Yeah,
the
New
host
Folk
of it.
Revival.
That's another one.
Is folk music, is very political folk music.
The Socialist Variety Hour, which you all are on the writing staff of
writers,
course.
yes.
That's right. Which is how I got this gig, was clearly nepotism.
Nepo, yeah.
And you know him from sitting right here.
From being a Nepo baby, of course.
That's right. I can't believe it. Your Daddy Toe was didn't he constructed the Pentagon, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, yeah.
He also fake blew it up on 2001.
Oh, yeah. Real insider shit.
Just kidding, kind of.
But folks,
it's Kal Teaux.
It's Kal Teaux. Yeah, you get
it's
the
a pleasure
point.
to be here, gents.
Thank you so much.
I was reflecting on my first episode on the way over, and I was at the Tournament of Champions, and I was eliminated immediately, which I agreed with. I think I was bested by Lauren Barnett. Jarnett? Is that
Lauren
right?
Arnett. Yeah.
Very funny comic.
Yes.
Way better than me. But what I remember is like, for as arbitrary as the topics are, I was surprised at how forthcoming all of my arguments were. I was so ready to just start fighting. You know what I mean?
Ready.
About whatever it was. I can't even remember. But I don't know what that says about me, or maybe that's a common experience for the guests. That maybe we all have a kind of such pent-up rage deep within that if you give us a clean avenue to be like, cut loose, I'm gonna let it fly.
I think that's totally true. And I think your particular style, I think a lot of people's styles are indicative about like things about themselves.
Totally.
And I would say your style on this podcast, at least over Zoom, it could be different in person, is like, it just reminds me of like the political debate. Like it's very well researched. It's very like, it's all driving towards some bigger point, as I recall.
I believe that's true. I believe that's true.
Well, since being on here, have you had any large debates in your life? Have you gained any experience?
Well, I will say I've been doing, I mentioned this to you guys a minute ago, but I've been doing a real deep dive on Norman Finkelstein, and I adore that man so much. But I did watch, like a week or two ago, rewatched the Finkelstein versus Alan Dershowitz debate. Alan Dershowitz, famously Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer and dear friend. And I have been laughing to myself over and over, thinking about the amount of times that Norman Finkelstein in that interview is going, Mr. Dershowitz, please. Mr. Dershowitz, Mr. Dershowitz, please.
That's sick.
As you know, Alan's just being like an insane lawyer and talking over him constantly. Mr. Dershowitz, please. So if I start doing that sort of reflexively during this, I apologize.
It just means that one of us is being like a real Alan Dershowitz about it.
And I hope it doesn't come to that, sir.
Yeah, no, certainly, because that's what's it called? It's the thing you're not supposed to do in debates. An ad hominem.
Ad
To
hominem.
call someone an Alan Dershowitz.
Literally, that's what. Yeah. That's what he accuses Finkelstein of doing the entire time.
Yeah. Alan Dershowitz is being like, you're being a real Alan Dershowitz right now.
You're doing me too well. Yeah.
Yeah. My whole argument style is ad hominems, though.
Yeah.
And I'm actually
sure.
as of last episode, I actually have a new role in this podcast.
Oh, that
What
is
happened?
right.
So here's the thing.
Did you get banned?
So
Well,
this is episode 101.
So
101?
Yeah,
Dalmatians
last
episode.
yeah.
Son of a bitch.
So, last episode being the 100th episode, we had to decide out of the two of us who in this podcast is the head hundo. And
for the next 100 episodes.
Holy shit.
yeah, and sure enough, I was the victor. I'm the head hundo now.
Yeah.
Wait, but so, because before you guys switced, who was the judge and who was the, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Well,
and
the
that
thing
will
is,
remain the same.
That will,
Okay.
we will always switch camera versus, guy with laptop. But
Which are the two positions on your resume.
And the
that
two
you
genders.
Yeah.
Those are the two genders.
Absolutely. And
Exactly.
the thing though is much like, His Majesty, the head hundo it's like a ceremonial position,
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And I rule some small like commonwealths across other podcasts. Like
Yeah.
like the Barbados podcast.
Yeah, and there are coffers that are being filled for you every year.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
good.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm also, much like Alan Dershowitz, great friend of financier Jeffrey Epstein.
the New York financier.
Yeah.
So how did you win? How did you decide?
Debate, of course.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won.
right.
What was I actually forgotten.
I don't remember.
Such a blur. Oh my god! It was
What I
just a week
remember,
ago.
we had our friend Harry moderate, and he gave us our topics. And I remember being given my topic and thinking, I'm gonna lose this.
That is my deep fear about what's about to happen to me right now too. Yeah.
Well,
if I get something that.
I mean,
Well, congrats, dude. Yeah.
thank you.
Hell
Yeah, it's gonna be
And
king. And in 100 episodes, Matt, episode 200, we'll have a rematch, and then you can maybe try to
anything can
usurp
happen,
me. Yeah,
folks.
True, anything can happen.
Which will be if you do it weekly. What about 2 years?
Well,
from
we
now?
do bi-weekly, so it'll be 3 years from now.
4 years from now.
Well, that makes sense. So it's a 4-year term.
It is
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
It is a
yeah,
4-year
actually.
term because this
Yeah.
podcast did start in spring 2021, actually. So that it is roughly
Yeah.
a 4-year term.
It totally is, and but there are no term limits, so maybe I'll get reelected.
actually, I think maybe we should put some term limits in place.
His Majesty the Hundo vetoes that.
Well, that's
Uh-oh.
fucked, but
He's got veto
that's fair.
All right.
I think
All right.
at some point I want to like as throughout this next 100 episodes, like each episode like gets slightly more ornate, and then by like maybe I'll like next episode I wear a ring, or the next then like a
Yeah.
cape, and then by the final episode I'm like 199 I'm like body modded out, I'm like Xerxes, and I'm sitting here like
You're 9 feet tall.
I'm all covered in gold. Your topic is
And I've
great.
somehow shrunk.
Yeah, Matt.
Well,
it's
Matt,
Matt.
what's his name for 300? The guy.
I'm Ephialtes, the hunchback.
There we go. What a future, dude. Oh my
The
gosh.
head hunchback and the head hundo. Oh man,
That's something to look forward to.
that's cool, Matt. The head hunchback.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I want that.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah.
I think that's
Everybody
what I
wants to
want.
do that.
No,
Yeah, I would
and-
love to. I can't, but I would love.
Oh,
yeah.
you're not available?
No, because I got so much stuff. But if I was, I would love to hunch my back like that. I would love that.
That's awesome.
I'm slowly gonna start like, I don't know, like sleeping in like a more and more compressed fashion. Like I need to like
Yeah.
sleep like closer and like face my wall closer and closer, inch closer each night, and just like crown my head lower and lower.
Also, I think what I'm gonna do is a royal decree. Each week, I'm gonna lower the roof or the ceiling in Matt's room by an inch. So-
At first I won't notice, but soon I'll notice.
yeah, yeah.
That's a beautiful future you guys have laid
Well,
out.
yeah,
for
it's gonna be
yourselves.
awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Me,
mutually
Emperor.
great for both of us.
Agree.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's really great. We're both bullish on this.
Yeah.
Speaking of excited about the future, I've got 2 steaming hot topics right here.
Now, just one quick question
yes,
before we
of
get
course.
going.
Oh, yeah,
which
we
is
should
how
make
are the topics decided? Is it a random word generator?
Yeah, we've got like a bunch of, like a list of probably like 100 like broad categories, and then we put it in a random thing picker, generate 2, and then from like these broader topics, you pick like a more specific thing. So,
Okay.
Cal, you're in favor of a store, any store.
Hell yeah.
And Matt, a child's toy.
Child's toy. Not to
Yeah.
be confused with the desk toy.
Not to be
Recently-
confused with the desk toy. We had a really big,
a long discussion about the insatiable bird.
yeah, And
The insatiable bird.
it went
dude.
on
Hell
for,
yeah.
like-
That's the title of my memoir.
yeah.
Are we not all insatiable birds?
In a way, we are, but that topic spanned like
The entire
3
episode.
debates, the whole yeah. But yeah, dude. If I can keep vamping, I mean, do either of y'all have a
children's toy?
a
you
children's
say?
toy, or a store of your choice? Because you can keep thinking. There's no rush.
I'm gonna pick something.
Okay.
That was certainly it was a trend when you and I were children, Jack.
Mhm.
This was I never had them myself, but I was always jealous of the kids who did. I am talking about Bakugan.
Oh.
So what are you familiar with Bakugan, Cal?
No.
So Bakugan, not to be confused with Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Beyblade. Beyblade was around the same time. The thing about Bakugan is that it was like a little ball, and then you put it on a like a magnetic surface. Specifically, it's supposed to be like a card that was magnetic. You can put it on any magnetic surface, and the ball would open up and be a little like battle guy.
Really?
Yeah.
In real life?
Yeah, it would like the ball would like
tiny.
spring open with the magnet. Like you touch the magnet onto the magnetic tip on the bottom or whatever. The ball would spring open, and it would be like a little character.
Interesting. And was it a collect them all type deal?
Yeah, you could collect them all.
Sure, you could collect
Yeah,
them
you
all.
can do whatever you want with them. I just think they were so cool. Kids would bring them in, and they would like place them like on the jungle gym, which was like made of metal, and it would just go, ding, it would pop right open. And I just thought these things were so cool. I think toys that start as one thing and then become other things are great. I think the issue with Transformers is they ran
I
out.
wasn't criticizing Transformers.
No. It just popped into my mind. I'm like, it's similar but different. I think it's better than Transformers. Transformers is just cars, and like I get it, kids like cars, whatever. But like the ball is such like an elegant little thing. Like you can really like take like a bunch with you to school. And like it's not like, oh, you have toys in class. It's like no, it's a tiny little ball. Like you can really like enjoy it and like play with it privately. But you need your magnetic thing too, so it's not too much of a distraction. And they're just fun little guys. And I'll get my time there. We'll jump back in after.
Okay.
All right. Your opening statement, Cal.
I was going to ask if that was your opening statement. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So when I think store, I'm of course, horrified by consumerism, modern consumerism. So the first thing that would jump to mind would be like a bodega, right? But then that feels too like New York City specific. And there's too much kind of like fetishizing of bodegas broadly and the local bodega guy. So I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to defend the general store.
Oh, general store.
Because though there are not many general stores anymore, I would maybe venture to say that they were destroyed because they were too good. And that if there is any remnant left of the general store, largely speaking, it would kind of be a bodega kind of thing. But general store is almost from an era that predates absurd consumerism. And what we've seen happen to the general store is the same thing that's happened to absolutely everything in the modern capitalist world, that everything is niched. Everything is a niche. It's not a big, broad thing we can all enjoy together. It's a very specific thing that a little group of people can enjoy and namely argue and fight about. The general store is not only a store. They have it's not just a store. It's a store that has everything. It's got your milk and eggs. It's got your toilet paper. But it's got all the other little trinkets and necessities that you would need of life. I also think that the general store would commonly have like a deli counter or even like a couple tables, a proto coffee shop, if I may. Another thing that's been niched away from the general store. The general store wasn't just a place where you bought some shit and left. It was like one of the main meeting places in the town. Everyone would have to go there because it was the place to get stuff. And so you knew the person who worked there. It was a family who owned it. You friggin' went to school with their kids or whatever. It was a store that provided you with nearly all of your material needs and also scratched a communal itch in a way that we just don't see in today's modern world.
All right.
Would they sell Bakugan?
Sure.
It kind of sounds like they wouldn't sell Bakugan.
But why not, dude? I mean, they would sell little toys and stuff like that. If anything, it would be a licensing issue because, they only want to sell it in specific stores in the mall next to the GameStop or whatever. They don't want to have it broadly available to the people.
Well, you speak about like broad appeal and whatever, and like Bakugan is very appealing to all, certainly, but it was a moment, right? And it was a very particular time and place when Bakugan was what was popping. I just feel like these stores would fail to account for people who like Bakugan. I feel like you talk about the general, you talk about not being like available to those with niche interests. I think niches are good. I think being able to like be having your individuality reflected in the product you can buy is a good thing. And you know, the Bakugan is the prime example of that, because what I like are magnets, I like little balls, and I like little warrior guys, and Bakugan fills that niche for me.
You know, that's a good point. That's a good point. And my issue would maybe not be with the niche things in and of themselves. It's that it's so separated and divided, and then you have to run around to all of these different places that everything is licensed out so specifically. Whereas, sure, you can sell the Bakugan, is it?
Sure.
Okay. Is it?
Yes, okay. It is. Yeah. I don't know what distinction you're drawing, but I'm going to say sure. Yeah.
They could be sold at a general store, of course, alongside the Digimons, and alongside some Pokemon cards, and alongside the Barbies and Ken dolls, and alongside all sorts of other things. That's a different argument.
I actually have a question for Matt.
Yeah.
So
lay it on me, Hundo.
Yeah, can you just, as sort of the hunchback of this podcast, can you talk about how Bakugan has impacted your body image?
Well,
as rolling into a ball, you know.
I love it. I think it really was a great role model for me. I was like, I want to roll into a ball one day.
You actually want to be so hunched back that your nose touches your toes.
Yes,
and then you fold back
complete...
and become really straight again, and then start to, you know,
go the other way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's when I touch a magnet that I spring out.
No, not to interrupt, but can you explain to me the magnets thing again? Because I feel this is a limitation of the toy itself. G.I. Joe, you can take them anywhere, and I hate G.I. Joe, but you just play with it. But how fundamental is this third-party piece to the enjoyment of the first-party object?
It really sounds like the Insane Clown Posse, you know that? Magnets, how do they work? That's what this guy wants to know. Look, we don't know how magnets work, okay? That's the...
asking you how magnets work or not.
We do not know how they work.
That's not what I asked. Mr. Dershowitz, please. With regard to the Bakugan itself.
It comes with a card that's magnetic. A little card.
But can the Bakugan be used and enjoyed to its fullest extent without the magnet card?
Yeah, because the world is covered in magnetic objects that you can put it on.
But that still presupposes that you would have a magnet close by in order to play.
If you don't have like a magnet close by, then your general store is failing you.
Well, that I agree with. Because they should have everything.
And it sounds like the general stores, you kind of admit, they lack magnets.
No, I never said that.
Like, do you think I could waltz down to my general store and get one of those big two-sided horseshoe magnets just to walk around with and cause havoc on the street? Just aim it at people.
I would venture to guess that it's such a communal place that if they didn't have it, you could talk to the old man who works there, and he would freaking order it for you. And good luck going to CVS and trying to get one. So they're not going to get it for you.
You're just like what you're like arguing in favor of is like a store that doesn't exist anymore, right?
Okay. Whoa.
Hey.
They do exist, but in any place where big business has taken over, which is damn near everywhere, they were destroyed because they were too good.
Wow.
That's how I feel about Bakugan. They were destroyed because they were too good.
I mean, I hate to throw it back on you, dude, but what sets apart the Bakugan from the Digimon, the Pokemon, the Tamagotchi? Of the other... Isn't it just a Furby? Isn't it just another in a line of... It's a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing's like Beanie Babies.
Absolutely not.
They're
just products.
They're just designed to be shit little trinkets that kids see on TV. They see the commercial, they yell at their parents and cry until they get it. Isn't it just a series of little trinkets that are worthless pieces of plastic that the desire for them is completely manufactured?
But they're worth something to me. So they really
I'm
are
not
worth
here
something
to take
to the
that
kids.
from you.
They really are worth something to the kids who collect them. Yeah. I as a kid, I loved collecting random bullshit, including like collectible toys.
Yeah.
And like the thing about like collectible toys, like you're right, like it's like they are engineered to be like a thing that you can like keep like collecting, but the great thing about them is the designs. They're so appealing. It's like, well, I like this one, but now like I want the other because this one's really cool. And you have more and more, and you feel more whole as you buy. The more you buy, the more whole you feel.
Right.
So it's good for you. And so I think what you're missing is you think that's bad for you, but I think it's good for you. It's nice.
How are these differentiated from each other? Like
from each other?
Are they
different colors?
And
the warriors are different shapes.
Okay, right. Yeah. Are there different like classes of them? Do they have like powers? Do they have features? Do they have like personalities?
They're of a similar vein to like a Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like each card like tells you kind of more about the guy that you're seeing. Because ultimately the designs themselves, like there is like some of them are really cool because some of them are like dragons and stuff. But also like there are of course limitations, which I think like breeds innovation. Because there's only so much you can do with like it has to fit inside the ball. When it unfurls, it has to. What comes out has to be from the ball.
Right.
I think I'm ready for some closing statements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went first. Do you want to?
Yeah. Let's hear from Kal. Closing.
All right. I think my closing statement was really just stated right then and there by my opponent, which is that what Bakugan will offer you is a free ride on the never-ending wheel of samsara. It will offer you an elevator ride to the never-ending levels of hell. It will offer you an itch you could truly never scratch. That in all the fervor of the Pokemon collect them all, and all the excitement around that, did anyone ever stop to ask, did anyone actually ever collect them all? And the answer, I assume, is no. Because the second that someone did, they just invented more. And so, while I won't disagree that there were some good points made by my opponent, and that there is some fun, and even a sort of ancient inclination of sort of festooning yourself, bejeweling yourself with various trinkets. That's fun and cool, I agree. But it will never scratch the itch that a true sense of being taken care of, a true sense of having one's literal needs be met, and a true sense of being part of a community, of being part of something that is bigger than just yourself, down at the general store.
The general store that doesn't fucking exist anymore because it was so antiquated. They had to break that shit up. They actually, there's a little history lesson for y'all. What they did is the government actually stepped in and said, these general stores are actually a monopoly on types of stores. So they,
Mr. Dershowitz.
What they did is they broke up the general store into many different types of stores in order to save the consumer. And I, for one, am thankful. and it's okay. So these stores, they're so general. Oh, they had all this shit. They didn't survive. And what they did have was inherently limited. That's why niche stores came to exist, because they could offer things for specific desires that the general store just couldn't possibly provide. It's one store. It can't have that much shit in it. And the Bakugan is awesome. And if we're talking about collectibles at all, the fun thing about them is, look, character designs, little creatures and shit. I love that shit. I love them so much. It's the reason I was so into Bakugan and Pokemon as a kid. I loved all of like the creature designs. I think they're really fun. I like world building, and Bakugan has just the best like toy dynamics of any like of that category you could possibly get. And you get the magnets spring out, and you get the toy, you get the card, you can bring them anywhere, and you get the collectability factor, which is fun as fuck. I yield my time.
Wow, a very spirited debate. Great points from both sides. It's tough for me as a moderator in the hundo to really make this choice.
I just have to say one last point. I thought this. I don't know if Bakugan exists anymore either. Okay, that's all I'll say.
No, that's true. That was also something I was thinking about this whole time, which is, Bakugan is much like the general store. I don't think it's really around anymore. So
we're not so different, you and I.
that sort of throws some holes, but I do think even still, I think I'm going to give it to Bakugan. Just by just a smidge. Just by a smidge.
I'm 0-2 on this fucking show. God damn it.
No,
We're also forgetting you were like a regular
guest.
guest before you were on the tournament.
Yeah, you've been on before the tournament. It was like a
regular episode.
Did I lose that one too?
I don't know. I don't know if we keep the records.
Oh, we do keep the records.
When we feel like it. Let's see.
No. We fucking have.
I guess in order to be on the Tournament of Champions, I would have needed to be on it before too. Yeah.
Oh no, it was episode 67. Kal Teaux debates Thumb versus Nixon, and you won in a debate against Matt. It was Florida versus an allergy to steroids. Which is what Matt chose as his allergy.
I chose an allergy to steroids.
And then you won against me because you chose the body part Thumb, and I chose the surname Nixon.
Right. That I kind of do remember.
Yeah.
That says something about my psychology that I can't remember my victories. I only remember my losses. Sorry to take it there.
So this is a memorable day right here.
I'm 2-2 on this fucking show.
Yeah, you're 2-2. Well,
I'm
now you're
500.
Let's set the record straight. Matt is now taking control of the.
I love to take control. All right, we got it right here.
The generator. Let's do it.
Oh, these are some fun ones.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I like this a lot. Okay, Cal, you're gonna be arguing in favor of a decade.
Ooh, hell yeah.
A decade of your choice.
Hell yeah.
And Jack, you're gonna be arguing in favor of a director of your choice.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like we got some great stuff over here.
All right.
Whenever sounds like Jack, was that all right and I have it, or was that a thinking all right?
I'm like at a crossroads in my mind. I might do like the director of the Pentagon. I was like, maybe the director of Doge, Elon Musk. But then I'm also like, James Cameron.
Oh my God, you're giving away your whole thought process.
I know, because I'm that good. It doesn't even matter. Or maybe this is me.
That's the confidence of the hundo.
That is the hundo.
The hundo confidence. It's gonna be your downfall.
No, the hundo hubris will never fail me. It's only a positive aspect of my reign. I think I've got a director. Okay, I'm picking George Lucas. He's a total freak. We love him. He's kind of the quintessential director in a way, in that he's able to create classics and conceive of such amazing ideas. Star Wars, I think he had his hand in Indiana Jones, but then also he lets that his freak flag fly with movies like, help me out here, Matt. What's the one with the animated one? Is it The Guardian?
Oh,
yeah,
like Epic?
Epic, yeah, Epic. A horrendous animated movie is just sort of like a passion thing of his. It's very, but it's beautiful. It's like a child's like mind, George Lucas. And too many directors now don't take big swings. And George, he hits some home runs with like Jar Jar. The prequels speak for themselves. So you really get the best of both sides of what you want in a director. And his genius cannot be encapsulated into a single decade. So he spans time. He already is not bound to, like, decades are so bound to time. What is it if not a unit of time? And I think that's an antiquated way to live your life, being conscious of time. You need to detach from that. And I yield.
I would certainly agree that the prequels speak for themselves. They certainly do, and we'll get into that. To pick a decade, I'm tempted by a few, but I guess I'll pick the most obvious one, or maybe non-obvious reasons. I'm going to go with the 1960s.
Nice.
And not because of the drugs.
Because of the racism. Mr. Dershowitz, please.
Spend the next half hour defending racism.
It wouldn't be the first time, Cal. Listeners know. No, I'm jesting.
I brought my calipers, okay? I'm ready to measure your brain at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. Phrenologist, Cal.
Yeah, Jack, I notice you have an Irish forehead. Can we...
That's why I keep losing these damn debates.
I would say that the the 1960s was the last time that you had like widespread class consciousness in America, coupled with an optimism that things really could get better, and that the American project was still something that we were all working on together, and that could actually live up to its stated goals. And you see a lot of protests in the 60s, of course, and incredible organizing. And then you see this horrendous reaction to it. I mean, they had to kill Malcolm X, MLK, JFK, RFK because they were the four biggest leaders on what could broadly be called the American left. Those people were in the prime of their life and had tremendous power and were organizing people not along racial lines exclusively, not along gender lines, but along class lines. And that is the biggest underrepresented group of people in America. So this was a pre-internet time where things were very much still IRL. And you had a group like, say, the Black Panthers, who realized that the giant institutions in America were not serving them, so they had to just take things into their own hands. So they started programs where they would give breakfast out to children. They started programs where they would give clothes to people. They started even student nonviolent coordinating committees. Like it was a protest group, but it was also an educational group. Again, because the educational institutions were not serving the underserved people. So they had to take matters into their own hands. And they organized amongst themselves. And they hadn't been so beaten down that they thought that was impossible, like we do nowadays. So I think you could make a decent argument that like America died in 1968. And it was because there was such an uprising of power to the people kind of thing that the powers that be had to fucking freak out and come down with an iron fist that continues to this very moment.
So my opponent is arguing in favor of a failure. All these people failed. It didn't work. And also, you know what's better than giving out meals to kids? Jar Jar Binks. Ever imagine thinking of Jar Jar Binks?
I need to jump in.
Please.
Not too long ago, I rewatched one or two of the prequels.
Me too.
And I think it was the second one. And that movie was so absurdly racist that it was like, you know, they've gone back and like re-edited and like CGI'd the old Star Wars. That movie is so racist. There would be no edit you could possibly do to unracist it. You have like these alien guys who have very, let's say, Asian accents.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're
you mean the Chinese aliens?
I mean, I didn't want to say it.
The Nemoidians, they're from China.
Yeah, the Trade Federation.
You've got, excuse me, Jar Jar. He's got his own sets of problems. I think the Ewoks were like, admittedly by George Lucas, inspired by the Viet Cong or something. It seems like as a lack of creativity, George Lucas continually fell back on racist tropes, which is some Amos and Andy minstrel show type shit, dude. I hate to say it.
Well, look, you're arguing in favor of the 1960s, where we actually had policies instated. So I'll check you there, pal. And
I didn't like that part of it.
No, that's you chose it. I didn't choose that. I would never choose some shit like that. But I will say the Ewoks are just toys. It's all toys. George Lucas is a genius, okay? He just wanted to make that moolah so he could build the Skywalker Ranch.
That's the thing. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't get into an artistic shouldn't become an artist to make money from it. You should say something that you feel is necessary to say in the artistic and communal world.
And he did that time and time again, and it was time to cash out. You know, we've had George Lucas has come up with infinite masterpieces, more than most artists can say in their lifetime, I would argue. To think of Han Solo, I mean, that's most people couldn't even dream of thinking of Han Solo.
But didn't he also steal all that from Dune? Wasn't that a thing?
Look, space exists, okay? Space is a thing. There are stars, there are all sorts of creatures out there. We can't even begin to imagine what's out there unless you have an insane, the crazy mind of an auteur, of a genius like George Lucas.
And I also hate to say that I'm afraid that Star Wars, though it's a space opera of sorts, it did kind of manufacture consent for war. And it did manufacture consent for interest in going to the moon, going to space.
Like the 60s, Vietnam War and going to the moon. I mean, look, you're just throw out your slinging shit, pal, and it's hitting you in the face, Mr. Dershowitz. So don't come with me your shit dirty hands. George Lucas is plenty of good for himself. But hey, it's still good nonetheless. The 60s was all bad. 60s was terrible time. All these people getting killed. You said America died in the 60s, and you chose that decade to debate for. And I'm talking about just a simple. It's not even that deep, guys. It's not even deep. It's Star Wars. It's a children's show and movie franchise, and it's not even just Star Wars. George Lucas. It's the man. It's the director. A great director, a great artist must be controversial. He must make some people. Kal, upset with his amazing work. He's gonna ruffle some feathers.
I feel I need to defend my position from a baseline here. I'm not choosing the 60s because I'm choosing the mass majority of feeling, thinking, and people in the 60s. I'm not identifying with the top-down institutions that exist, which would have been horrible in any decade. So if I'm supposed to pick a decade, then I could have chosen any one, and it could have been the 1550s, and there would have been some horrendous king that we could have identified and kicked downstairs.
And I would also just like to say I'm not debating in favor of the racism of Star Wars. Every movie is racist, and if we look at every movie, they're all have racist aliens in them. So take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
That's my issues with movies.
Yeah,
if I don't watch them.
I think even if it was like chicken or the egg kind of thing, didn't Reagan have a program that was like Star Wars, and he like prostituted what was a beloved movie, I suppose, into manufacturing, stealing people's tax dollars to go towards military contractors. Who cares about going to the moon? Who cares about space?
The dreamers.
We've already
George Lucas does.
We already have a place to live, and it sucks. We should fix that first. And the fact that George Lucas would be more interested in space than the fellow people around him, it's despicable.
I think that I think it's just a testament to how good of a director he is. I mean, he's such a good director that they created a military program inspired by his films. Is that not a mark of success? I mean, it won't be long before we have, I don't know, like an Avatar, sort of, I don't know, a Na'vi.
Yeah, they're going to turn Spider into a real guy.
Yeah, Spider's sick. I mean, look, Avatar would not exist without Star Wars. I'll say it. And it has inspired countless films, countless, great memories for fans. The 60s, it's just known as one of those, it's just a bad decade. Just bad, you've got all these
other than Star Wars, right? And then no, it was
epic.
Indiana
Jones.
Spielberg, yeah. What was his level of involvement there?
Producer and creative consultant. I mean, Han Solo is Indiana Jones and vice versa.
So I get there's that
they're the same guy.
Yeah, they're the same guy.
So didn't he just reuse the same bullshit characters?
Well, I would actually, someone who's into sustainability, I think there's something wrong with reusing something.
That's not sustainability.
It's totally sustainability.
No, it's not. It's unoriginal. It's typical hack Hollywood corporate crap.
No, George is not a Hollywood insider. George Lucas is just like you and I.
He's the Hollywood insider.
No, he's not. No.
Yes, he is. He made movies so he could build a ranch. Who does that? That's
People
crazy.
Who like ranches. Skywalker Ranch. It's great.
There's a difference between people who like ranches and people who get to live on ranches, though.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say, sorry.
No, please.
Other than Star Wars and some teeny tiny little
American Graffiti, a movie that inspired many of the greatest directors ever today. So even if
in what way did it inspire?
In what way it created?
It's a movie about the 50s, trying to harken back to a time where people were more asleep and they were still in love, thinking of World War II, that we actually did win that.
And look, it opened people's eyes to that, and we got a bunch of great movies in the 70s that it inspired. It inspired a lot of Scorsese stuff. It inspired a lot of people, other directors in that time. It's true. It's true.
Okay, so there's THX, right? That's one that he made, right? American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's and I'm quoting you now. I think you said it was a horrendous animated movie that he made.
But it was a big swing, and it polarized some people, and that's what the mark of a great director is.
And then what else is there though?
What else is there? The prequels.
I'm sure there's a lot in there, but the thing is that there's too much to even cover. I don't even need to cover all that.
There's so much. That's not a lie. There's so much. He's always working. He's probably whipping up something right now.
He's probably on the Cayman Islands somewhere. The guy hasn't thought about movies in 30 years.
No, he's thinking about movies always. He's George Lucas. He's the director. He's the great George Lucas. The 60s were a time that's already passed. It's not even a decade that's happening right now.
Didn't he? And he at some point he was just like he had to sell Star Wars to Disney.
Yeah,
that was his deal.
Yeah, well, the ranch isn't going to take care of itself.
Which again is motivated by an economic interest and not necessarily an artistic one.
Well, I would argue that the Skywalker Ranch is a testament to George Lucas's creative genius and that it's a beautiful property. Yeah,
I have a question. Just how much dressing do they make there?
How much ranch dressing do they make on the ranch? Oh, just I would say parsecs worth of it.
Oh yeah, parsecs worth.
Parsecs worth it.
I'll admit that was a great answer.
Thank you.
But again, that's not an artistic work. We don't all get to visit. It's not a theme park that we all get to visit.
Look, I don't know. I think you're someone who believes that an artist must create art so others can consume it and purchase it. But George can create a beautiful ranch for himself, and I think that's something an amazing director should have the right to do. As where the 60s just created unrest and racism, and you know what? I think the worst byproduct of the 60s was the 70s.
Now that I have to agree with. But also, where the fuck was George Lucas in the 60s? This activism.
That's where he was. That's when he was incubating. He had to shield himself from the worst decade so he could pop off and save the 70s.
Another point you mentioned too, though, is is Star Wars even really a movie, or is it really just a pretext to sell little trinkets?
It can be both. Like Bakugan.
I was about to say, could you collect them all?
Can you collect every Star Wars item?
Yeah, could you collect all the Star Wars?
Probably
yeah,
not.
you could. You could collect every Star Wars.
Okay.
There's I think I'm on board with this.
There are so many.
It's a kangaroo court. I shouldn't have brought it up.
There are a finite number of Star Wars products, goods. So yeah.
How many Star Wars?
10. Or more. Look, how many Star Wars? There's been a lot of them. Okay, that's something for me to say.
Could I myself go to the general store and collect all the Star Wars?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Your pockets,
true.
Your pockets are deep enough.
I think that's not true. I think
it is.
After all the eras of from the 70s to today, and all the spin-offs and all the goddamn books.
So Cal, you're the decades expert. Can you name all the eras?
Yeah, can you go through every Star Wars canon and non-canon era?
Now they have a show with there's shows and there's the Clone Wars and stuff. I mean, isn't it just all like trash?
What is it with you and Baby Yoda? What do you got against Baby Yoda? I see the way you look at our
Baby Yoda.
You see, look at our picture, our Baby Yoda Buddha over there.
Yeah. Look, I'm just gonna. He's George. It's George Lucas, guys. He's the GOAT. I mean, look, he's created so much joy. As where the 70s created so much misery. I don't see what's so difficult to parse here.
I just think that he is one of the few super corporate backed directors who is allowed to be creative. And for every one George Lucas, there has to be at least 100,000 creatives who had great ideas
but weren't good enough. George, we love you, baby. Thanks for watching, George. He's one of our biggest listeners. He sends me racist alien voice impressions.
But let me say this, to my point about that at the end of the 60s, the dream of America died.
Okay.
Because all throughout the 60s, you had a level of protest and organizing that really had not been seen. And it was outside of the mainstream. Probably every night you could turn on CBS News, Walter Cronkite told you why the protests were a bad thing and they were scary and all the hippies were freaky weirdos. It was people taking things back into their own hands, saying, actually, we don't need this giant power structure to tell us what to think, to tell us what movies to watch, what images to consume, what things to believe. We trust ourselves enough to organize and do it ourselves. And there could not be a more corporate, top-down, shoved down your throat film, even to this day, than all the Star Wars crap, man.
I disagree. I think there's still a magic in the original trilogy. Even in the prequels, there's some magic. I think Jar Jar is the key to everying.
You can't stand on that, sir. You can't stand on that.
Is that a George Lucas quote?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, look, I'll also say that this 60s was a failure. I think we'd be a lot better off if it had worked out. I think you're basically arguing in favor of a lost cause, a dream that has died, I guess, in 1968, as where George Lucas fucking made the most successful franchise of movies of all time. And I think that's the mark of the greatest director who's ever lived. Better than some crummy decade where you couldn't even buy a Bakugan.
Well, let's hear some closing statements.
Yeah. Who went? I guess I went first. So I think Cal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me bring up a big point, which I haven't mentioned thus far, which is just in terms of magnitude, we're trying to quantify George Lucas, who, by measure, is a fairly accomplished director. What did he do? Did he make 12 things? Did he make, maybe 13 movies? If that. So 13 opportunities to really make a difference, really make an impact on people. And my opponent did say at least one of them was horrendous, I think was the word he used. And I can't even name any of the other ones. My opponent also said he couldn't name many of the other ones. Whereas an entire decade, a span of 10 entire years. Think about when you were 10 years old. And then think about when you were 20. And think about all the experiences, the profound experiences you've had, the gains and losses, the way you've grown, how much you've changed over a period of 10 years. And then any objective person would say that in the past 120 years, at the 60s, were a period of... people who were alive in the 60s talk about it as if it were a utopia. They'll never stop listening to the classic rock on the radio in a specific way that people from, let's say, the 40s or even like the 80s, nobody's like, oh my God, the 80s were incredible. Everyone knew it sucked because all of the optimism was pretty much already gone. It was pretty much just dog eat dog. But the 60s was a time when the grip of the corporate structures had not yet strangled our brains, and more importantly, strangled our hearts. People still thought we could reach a better day and that it was within our grasp. And that is truly worth being revered.
Wow. That's cool and all. But look, you're talking... Cool. That is cool. Look, you're talking about dog eat dog. No one knows about aliens who like eating dogs more than George Lucas, okay?
Racist. That's racist.
Well, I shoot for having an imagination and being creative. No, folks, guys, look, we're overcomplicating things. It comes down to a simple fact. And that fact is a unit of measurement. And that unit of measurement is joy. And if we're going to measure the collective joy of the 60s versus all the Star Wars films and all of George Lucas' other works, much more joy created from that, much more inspiration and, sort of soil for artists to, farm and reap and create beautiful masterpieces. As were the 60s, just another failed experiment that ultimately ended. And yeah, people, they may be nostalgic about the 60s, but there are people nostalgic for every time. Some people peaked in the 60s. Most people are always going to relish and listen to their favorite tracks on the radio. Everyone important in the 60s was killed for some reason. That's kind of bad. That's terrible. George Lucas lives on, and I yield my time.
Wow. This is a close one, a tough one. I'm giving it to Kal.
Oh.
Okay, I didn't think it was close. I think Kal had that.
I thought I was gonna lose. I thought I was
Really?
gonna.
Oh, wow.
I thought you made some great points.
Earlier on, you were jumping way ahead, Shaq.
good,
and
good.
But you fell way
I
behind.
thought that fell behind. Yeah. That's the thing about the hundo is that I bust early.
On account of the hundo.
Yeah,
It makes you bust early.
It's true. When you carry a hundo
get all
with
worked
you,
up and excited
totally,
about it.
Yeah.
I also
No,
just,
I was. At the beginning, I was on the ropes there for sure.
Well, I just realized I don't know any George Lucas movies.
Yeah, it just doesn't help that he's like, oh, you have the Star Wars movies and like nothing else you know or anything good.
No. What else
Yeah,
has he
right.
done?
I nailed you on that. Yeah.
I think that's all the George Lucas movies, save for like Captain EO with Francis Ford Coppola and Michael Jackson.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, damn. If I brought up Captain EO, I would have won. Damn, I've actually seen like a lot of Captain EO.
Yeah.
Oh,
know
that's
anything about
sick.
There's some crazy connection too, and I don't know this for sure. I don't know the details of it, but so I didn't bring it up. But there's a famous incident of like at a Rolling Stones concert, there was like a kind of hysteria outbreak, and like people got trampled and someone died.
Yeah.
And George Lucas was like there filming that.
George Lucas was there at the Gimme Shelter concert. Is that what you're talking about with the Hells Angels?
Yes, I think so.
Oh shit!
But I'm not 100 on that.
That's interesting. I wonder if was he filming like is it maybe he
because there's a doc about that like concert,
right?
But it was maybe he was involved with that doc or he was just a fan.
I don't know. See, that's why I didn't
Yeah.
bring it up. But there's something there. I don't know.
And that was
Weird.
one of those defining ends of the '60s events. It was like
Exactly.
that. It was like that. Those like major assassinations. Sharon Tate. Like it was like those handful of things.
Right.
And that was one of them. That Rolling Stones concert.
Right.
But you won anyway, so it's not like you needed that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're officially in the positive, Kal. How does it feel?
What a relief, dude. What a fucking relief. Especially that whole last one. I'm like, I'm fucking losing this. It feels good. It's no hundo, you know.
No.
Someday,
No one who knows how that experience feels. None of us.
I just hope one day I could bust early too. You know?
How much time do we have on there?
I think we should wrap it up.
All right.
We're approaching. We're at like 52.
All right,
53,
great. Well,
yeah.
that's a nice
Okay.
amount of time. Well, so now you're in the positive, you're in the clear.
Thank God. I just want to say, not only do I love the both of you, of course, but I love
too.
this show.
Oh, thank
you.
And once again, I don't know what this says about me, but the second you give me a topic and an opponent, I'm like, let's fucking. This is so serious right now.
That's awesome. That's so
You get
awesome.
solemn. There is solemnity.
I know,
in your
which I'm like,
debate
like,
style.
Cal, it's a comedy show. Like, don't do that. But I like to think that it's about tension. You know what I mean? Comedy is tension and release. So if we pull that rubber band back, we can snap it even harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it'll make for a nice moment. I think it makes for some nice moments.
And you snapped so hard you busted late.
That's amazing.
And that is my second memoir that I'm working on.
Well, Mr. Dershowitz, you now are. If you have anything you'd like to plug, this is coming out tomorrow. So
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So we have the Socialist Variety Hour will be at Halyards on March 12th. The New Folk Revival will be at so the Variety Hour is obviously variety show, music and comedy, very funny. The New Folk Revival, which is a music show of fantastic musicians, will be at Young Ethel's on March 8th, which is a upcoming Saturday. Both those shows are free. Both those shows are very fun. Both those shows will have a charity donation aspect to it. So we offer the service of having a nice time, supporting artists, and making the world a little bit better at the same time. I would strongly encourage attendance at both of those events.
amazing. That's spectacular. And just after the day after the next show's Variety Hour, Matt and I and a motley crew will be performing 100 sketches in under 1 hour.
That's right.
Once again, will be a caveat March 13th at 7 p.m.
That's right.
If there's anybody who could do one, the listener might go, 100 sketches.
It's not possible.
Is such a thing even possible?
Is such a thing even possible? If there's anybody on God's green earth that could do that, I think it's you guys.
Thank you, Kal.
I mean it.
Wow.
Well, this has been an amazing episode. A lot of heartfelt moments, a lot of serious moments, a lot of funny moments, a lot of racist moments. But
seriously, that second one, the second prequel, or like the second movie, the prequel, it cuts from racist scene to racist.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, you can't edit it to be not racist because there would be no movie left.
You know, that's a hard pill to swallow because Jack and I just rewatched the prequels, and the second one was like, I thought by far the best.
I know, we were like, really,
wow, this one's great. No.
But that you could still be right about that. And it's about where the bar is set.
Yeah.
The first one's really racist too.
True. Yeah. Well,
I think the second one has the same number of racist moments, but they also the third one has what's his name? The
Watto too. Watto's another racist.
Watto,
wait,
yeah,
which one? The third one?
Well, no, because the third one has. I'm not just talking about race. I'm just thinking about like ethnicities they bring in. They have General Grievous, the robot general, who's like Bulgarian.
Oh yeah, his voice is crazy. General Kenobi. I was wondering if maybe it's like a patois actually, and he's General Grievous Jamaican.
Well, so that means he used to be a Gungan. Used to be a Gungan before because those are the canonical Jamaicans in the Star Wars universe. All right, folks.
The canonical Jamaicans in the Star Wars.
Yeah,
universe.
we're actually going to leave this episode. We're leaving this episode with the listener with a question, which is, who are the Jamaicans of the Star Wars universe?
Yeah, is it General Grievous? Is it the Gungans?
Is it something we haven't even heard of?
Is it the Toydarians? It's not the Toydarians, but
does Yoda have a little Jamaican in him?
Yeah,
you know?
Yoda and
is
Baby
he
Yoda.
sort of the Chet Hanks of the Star Wars universe? Let us know in the comments.
Let us know, and as always, big ups.